With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
What's good? It's Colleen Witt, and Eating While Broke is back for Season 3. Brought to you by the Black Effect Podcast Network and iHeartRadio. We're serving up some real stories and life lessons from people like Van Lathan, DC Young Fly, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and many more. They're sharing the dishes that got them through their struggles and the wisdom they gained along the way. We're cooking up something special, so tune in every Thursday. Listen to Eating While Broke on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Presented by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Giants Extra Point is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Giants. Citizens is made ready for Giant fans. Hackensack Meridian Health, keep getting better. Peerless Boilers, the world's best boilers. And by Moody's. Decode risk, unlock opportunity. Learn more at Moody's.com. The Giants couldn't unlock much today on the offensive side of the ball. They fall to the Vikings 28-6 in their season opener at MetLife Stadium. John Schmeelk here with you for the next 1 hour on the network, 2 hours on WFN on the post-game show here. Giants Extra Point. Bob Papa still with us, joined by Jonathan Casillas. We're waiting Brian Dable's press conference. We'll have that in a little bit. JC, let's start with you. We talked about at halftime about this offense having to get things going, and they never really did in the second half.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes. Pick six crucial, can't do that. They couldn't really find a rhythm. They never looked settled at all throughout the whole day. Daniel Jones was late a lot, was thrown behind. You know, they tried to run Motor, and Motor looked, I think, pretty good at times running the football. Looked pretty efficient, looked like he had some great vision. But it looked like there was just a disconnect between Daniel Jones and the receivers. And defensively, a clean pocket for Sam Darnold almost the whole night, which is, you know, you would think that this new rush that they have, the addition of Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, he was basically clean for the majority of the night, sometimes standing in the pocket for 4 to 5 seconds. That's just not giving yourself a chance to win. And the Giants did that basically the whole game.
And, Bob, you and Carl talked about this for much of the game. Daniel Jones was scattershot with his accuracy. When he did throw the ball well, the receivers dropped the ball. I believe Fox had, at one point late in the second half, 5 drops by their count for Giants receivers, 5 sacks for the Vikings. That puts them on pace for the same number of sacks they had last year with 5 sacks in the first game, 17-game season. And the penalties killed this team. And even when Jones had time, guys weren't open down the field. It's hard to find things that went well.
No, I mean, you have a stop on what led to the Vikings' first touchdown, and Adoree Jackson gets called for a pass interference penalty. And then in the third quarter, you get a stop on another drive, and it was announced that it was Burns, but it was Thibodeau. You look at Thibodeau's stat line. He did not have a tackle. His only stat is the face mask. Like, you can't – your better players have to be better than that. And I know that the tackles are pretty good for Minnesota, but it's not the Lions' offensive line. And the Giants really generated no pressure. Sam Darnold, other than a couple times in the game, he was 19 of 24 for 208. He had the one tip ball that got intercepted. Look, the Giants got out-schemed every which way but Sunday. They didn't have an answer for this Brian Flores defense, nor did they have an answer for Sam Darnold. And you know, Aaron Jones winds up rushing for 94 yards and a touchdown. Jefferson gets him over the top with the big play. I mean, Jefferson only had 4 catches for 59 yards, but that 44-yarder loosened things up. And then on a 4th and 2 at the Giant 3, they run a slant. They got man-to-man coverage, and he beats Deonte Banks. Giants didn't stop the run well. Giants didn't defend the pass well, and they didn't get after the quarterback well.
And when Shane Bowen got here, Bob, the two parts of his defense that were historically strongest in Tennessee, One, the rush defense. A couple years ago, they were the top rush defense in the league. The second thing, it was their best red zone defense in the league last year. Neither of those things came out on the right side today.
No, 3 trips to the red zone, a field goal, and an interception, and stopped on downs. And the one trip in the red zone was because your defense put you there.
Yep.
Drew Phillips forced a fumble. Okereke recovered it at the 20, and you wound up having to kick a field goal. I don't know. I know, look, it's the NFL, right? So everybody says it's one game. You got 16 more games. Got to improve. But if you're a fan of this team right now, you have to be alarmed. Because, again, it's not like the NFC champion Niners came in here.
Or even Dallas last year.
Or the Dallas Cowboys, a 12-win team year in and year out. You're talking about a team that's coming off 7-10, that has their own offensive line issues, and is using a guy like Sam Darnold at quarterback, who's a career 59% completion percentage guy, and his career quarterback rating in his career is 78.3.
And he finished the game 19 of 24 for 208 yards. And the only interception he threw was on a deflected pass that got knocked up at the line of scrimmage.
What bothered me is in the fourth quarter, it started late in the third quarter, the body language, the sense of urgency. You're down by more than 3 scores, and the no-huddle didn't start until the beginning of the fourth quarter at the end of the drive. And what's the sense of urgency with this team? What's the sense of urgency of getting off the field, getting a no-huddle, actually trying to make a competitive effort to be, make some scores at the end and get this game, reasonable at the end?
And I think at least some of us thought they were going to try to go for it on that 1 4th down in the second half, and they decided they tried to draw them offside instead, then they ran off the field.
Yeah, but even that, your offense is sputtering. You're not fooling anybody.
Right.
You're not fooling the Vikings, and there's situations out there. I watched, Philadelphia do it the other night. They got stopped on their tush push, right? And they came back on 4th down, and they hurried to the line of scrimmage, and everybody thought they was going to do it, and they got the team off sides. Like, there's ways to do certain things the Giants could not execute today, whether it was offensively or defensively. But what I do take from this, Bob, I seen some promise out of some young players today. Tyler Newman, Muasau. I seen some guys, young guys, playing some pretty good football today.
Drew Phillips, a forced fumble as well. Let's take a quick break.
And
I'm sorry, Bob, go ahead.
And Malik Neighbors, 5 catches for 66. He had a 25-yarder on 3rd down. It wasn't the explosive that you would have expected, but it's not like he was AWOL either, but they need him to be bigger and better than what he was today. But the other guys have to chip in. Slayton, Hyatt, you can't drop passes when everything else is struggling.
Tyrone Tracy had a drop as well on the flat.
And Theo Johnson.
Yeah. That's today's game breakdown. It was brought to you by our local Ford stores. One engine drives this team. For current offers, visit buyfordnow.com. Ford, official truck of the Giants. Quick timeout. When we come back, we'll get Brian Dable at the podium, a bunch of other sound from the locker room as well when we return after this.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the WFAN Giants Radio Network.
3rd and 5 from the Giant 35. Neighbors split out wide to the left. Jones back, steps up, fastball over the middle, caught by Neighbors in traffic, and he gets tackled at the 41-yard line. Risky pass, but they threw it to the right guy.
It was a risky pass. In fact, if it was a lower throw, Bob, as you pointed out during the broadcast, it was a defensive back underneath that throw, but DJ put it in the spot he had to. Neighbors with a great jumping catch. That catch did lead to the Giants' second field goal of the game, which is why that was today's drive of the game. Brought to you by Citizens. For every scoring drive this season, Citizens will donate $750 to the Giants Foundation to support their work tackling important community issues, improving overall health, and empowering our youth. Back here on Giants Extra Point, John Schmeelk.
I got a misleading stat for you.
Oh, I love misleading stats. They're the best.
The Giants' defense held the Vikings to 3 of 10 on 3rd downs.
Well, the Vikings' offense in the second half didn't do a ton. Now, they didn't have to.
They ran the
ball. They got the pick 6.
And they ran the ball.
They got the pick 6 and they ran the ball. But they didn't have to. I mean, you could tell that they didn't really have many downfield attempts at all like they did in that first half, understanding they had that 14-point lead. All right, let's go downstairs. It's time for Brian Dable's press conference, brought to you by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Here's the coach at the podium.
Okay. Obviously not the way we wanted to start. A disappointing game. A lot to clean up. and that's what we'll do.
Coach, I know you always say you want to recognize you want to watch the replay of things. Did you get a chance to look at the iPad after the pick six? And if so, what did you see? Was it a different scheme they ran, a good play out there?
He made a good play. He jumped up, and we were throwing a look pass out to Wandell, and came off the edge, jumped up, made a nice play.
It looked Dave's like he had a lot of low balls in the dirt, Daniel. What did you see out there without looking at the film?
Yeah, I'd say that I'm going to go back, watch the tape, see what we can do better. Obviously, there's a lot, so that's what we'll do. Starts with me.
Did you ever consider taking Daniel out of the game?
No.
You look sort of unsettled, indecisive. I mean, I know you watched the tape, you're calling the plays. Were they doing something different than you guys expected defensively, or why do you think that was?
No, they actually didn't pressure that much. Pressured a few times. Again, I'm going to go back, watch the tape, try to make the corrections and be better.
Brian, you spent a lot of the offseason, you put an emphasis on throwing the ball down the field. You threw, I think it was 0 balls, 20-plus yards in the air.
Yeah.
Why do you think that was?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're going to go back and watch it. We've certainly called plays. Sometimes they've taken them away. We got to do a better job all the way around. Starts with me.
Or was it something you?
Well, they played a bunch of soft shell, split safety stuff. They did so. But again, I'm going to go back, watch it. We can do everything better, but it all starts with me.
Even though they play that, do you still want to see your team take some of those shots down the field? Is it something at times where you have to take that risk and you have to?
Yeah, I want to see us play as good as we can play, Jordan, whatever that may be. And we didn't do that today.
Can you talk about the 9 penalties that you guys had today?
Yeah, penalties hurt. Either keep drives alive, back you up on offense, get put in, unfavorable situations. So, a lot to clean up.
Overall, Brian, what would be your message to your team after this ball game?
Yeah, I thought we prepared well. I thought they did good effort. I thought the defense played hard. We gave up a, pick 6 down there, and but there's a lot of things to clean up. So, again, I got to do a better job all the way around, and that's what I'll do.
Right. Any additional disappointment in it being a night for the 100 best players in franchise history, the celebration of team?
No, I think when you lose, you're always disappointed. So, again, had a good week of prep. Came out, didn't get the job done today, and that falls on me.
Brian, this team seemed eager to, there's a lot of negativism outside the building about what this team can be. This team seemed eager to try to quiet that, and the boos fairly early, and then. Do you think that maybe unnerved some players a little bit?
No, look, our job is to go out there and perform, and we didn't do that.
Brian, what did you see out of Darnold today?
They kept him in good situations. He made a couple nice plays down there to Jefferson on the V route, and they stayed on track. Didn't have that many plays, but did a nice job.
How did you feel about the protection of Daniel Jones with the sacks?
Yeah, I thought, again, let me go back and look at it. I thought the line communicated well. There might have been 1 or 2, but sacks are a team stat.
What was the thought process in the back-to-back quarterback runs there and the ball around midfield in the second quarter?
Yeah, we've been working on this one for a while on third, and I'd say 1 to 3, a little trap play from empty. So that was going to be one of our first third down calls. We practiced it and didn't finish it.
What do you say to the idea that this is an extension of last year? It looked very similar offensively.
Yeah, I'd say last year. Focused on this game, and a lot to clean up, obviously.
Right, on that drive, why did you punt there? It was 4th and 3 from the 49, I think.
Thought it was the best thing to do.
Coach, when you go back and look at it, are you looking to see if the receivers are finding the soft zone to sit versus keep drifting? It looked like a few times they drifted given the way the zone was playing.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and look at it. I know Wandell was in the right spot most of the time on some of that soft stuff. But, again, let's go back and watch the tape. A lot to fix.
Brian, how did you think Neighbors looked out there today?
One more time?
How did you think Malik Neighbors looked today?
Yeah, again, we just got done here. He made plays on the ball when he had an opportunity to, and we'll go back and look at it.
Brian, where's your confidence in Daniel right now?
Yeah, I'd say just overall we have to do a better job, and that starts with me.
How concerned are you about his confidence level, if at all?
Yeah, I'd say, look, we got to do a better job all the way around. He'll learn from the tape, and we'll be better next week.
Why should the fans feel confident that this will turn around from today?
Yeah, look, I can't talk for anybody else. I know what we're going to do. We're going to come back in on tomorrow morning, go to work, learn, have a good week of practice, and do everything we can do to get ready for week 2.
This was your first game calling the plays, not in the preseason, first time.
Yeah.
Did everything go well, in the communication and all that stuff?
By a lot and did score, so it wasn't good enough.
As far as just the mechanics of it?
What'd you see from Burns and Thibodeau?
I'd have to go back and look at it.
Why didn't Micah play?
Again, those we'll talk about that here with the coaching staff tomorrow. But Gunnar didn't either. Gunnar got hurt in pregame, fielding a punt. So we'll have discussions about that.
So you're saying that Micah was injury related? You're kind of grouping him in with Gunnar.
Yeah, I'd say we're going to meet here tomorrow and we'll discuss it.
Was he available to play then? Like, were you okay with him playing physically like that?
Yeah, I'd say they had 51 plays. I'd say we're going to go with Darius to start out, see how it went, and that's where we're at with it.
This Gunnar, was that a big he came in with the injury and he just really...
Yeah, no, it just happened. It happened in pregame. I walked over to him, saw it happen, went in, checked with the trainers, and couldn't go.
Did you feel that left you short? Darius has done it, but he didn't look very comfortable back there.
Yeah, that's our backup. So.
Why do you guys only have 51 men on the roster?
Yeah, it was roster management relative to some of the guys that we released or put on the practice squad. So we'll revisit that tomorrow.
Dave's on the one play coming out of the third quarter, and you had a 3rd and long. You stopped them, looked like you were going to get the ball back in that situation, and Thibodeau got called for a face mask. Did you get a look at what happened?
No, I think it was Burns.
Well, they announced Burns and then they changed it to Thibodeau. Yeah.
So again, you're going to get calls. You're not going to get calls. At the end of the day, we got to do a better job. It starts with me.
Are you surprised at this result? You changed your practice schedule and regimen. You guys worked hard in the summer. Does this catch you off guard at all?
Yeah, well, look, you got to do a good job to give yourself a chance, and obviously we didn't. So no excuses. Give Minnesota credit. I didn't do a good enough job, and we'll work hard to fix it.
Is there anything when you walk out of here that you say, okay, well, at least we did that. At least we could do that well?
Not at this time, no.
Coach, what was it about the 12 men? You got one of the penalties, 12 in the huddle, and then you had to delay a game out there. Is that
put it all on me?
Brian, what would your message be to the fans right now?
Yeah, we got to do a better job. That's what we're going to work on doing.
Couple more.
Brian, not that you're looking for excuses, but on a Dory, the pass interference, that looked like a questionable call. What did you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on the officiating. I thought Adoree tried to do the right thing. Again, it's bang bang play, and they called it.
How much does it take out of a team when they go 99 yards the way they did that drive?
Yeah, you'd love to hold them back there and make them punt it and get an opportunity, points expected. But yeah, it was a long one. They executed well, and something we got to fix.
Will you consider a quarterback change as you review this game?
Yeah, we're gonna watch everything, Pat. That's not in my mind.
Okay. All right, Dave.
Okay, thanks.
Obviously, head coach Brian Dable not happy with his team's performance, saying, put it on me first and foremost. Was asked if there's anything positive he could take out of this game as he walks out of here today, and he said, no, not right now. And I think that sums things up. Let's take a little break. We'll come back. Bob Papa, Jonathan Casillas will rejoin us right here after the Giants' 28-6 defeat to the Minnesota Vikings.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the WFAN Giants Radio Network.
Back here on Giants Extra Point, Giants fall to the Vikings 28-6 in their season opener. They're 0-1 to begin 2024. John Schmeelk, Bob Papa, Jonathan Casillas with you. And Bob, obviously, Brian Dable not happy with what he saw. He didn't really bring anything positive to light, didn't make any excuses. He knows the performance wasn't good enough, and they have to do better next week.
Yeah, and there's really not much an NFL head coach can say to answer a lot of these questions. I've said this a million times, but when I have to go down on the field and host a halftime like I did today. Usually stand on the visitor sideline around the 25-yard line or so. And it's really amazing how much you can't see when you're on the field. So they're asking him questions that he really doesn't have a lot of answers to because it's hard to see when you're on the field. That's why they say we need to look at the tape.
Yep.
I got to interrupt you, Bob, real quick. Daniel Jones is at the podium downstairs, so
Oh.
let's listen in to DJ.
Your performance in the offense today.
Yeah, obviously not good enough. Didn't get in the end zone, scored 6 points. Didn't create much rhythm and flow for ourselves, and yeah, I've got to be better. Certainly got to play better, give ourselves more chances to make plays, and execute more consistently.
What was your conversation?
Just trying to get the ball out to Wandell. Yeah.
What was your conversation like with Coach Daigle after the game in terms of where things are and where things are going?
I think we'll get in, watch the film, see what we can do better, see how I need to play better, and go from there. But yeah, I think we're focused on that.
How concerned are you that he will replace you at quarterback?
I'm focused on doing my job and playing as well as I can. So I've got to play better. I know that, and I'm focused on doing that.
Dan, you seem to have a number of throws that were kind of low and in the dirt over there. Was that just a little rut you got into? What was going on there?
Yeah, just got to keep my balance and make a good, accurate throw. Yeah, certainly look at that and need to correct it.
Hey, what happened? I'm sorry, I'm a little late, but somebody asked you what happened on the pick six.
Yeah, just trying to get the ball out to Wandell there on the screen. I'll look at it, see if I can get it out quicker.
How would you describe your confidence right now?
Good. I think I got to continue to, get into a rhythm and, get going, complete some balls, get things moving. I think, we all got to do that, and that'll help us, build confidence and keep going.
Daniel, was that part of the problem today? It didn't seem like anybody, not just you, anybody was getting into a rhythm on the offense.
Yeah, I think obviously it's largely my responsibility to help us do that, and keep going, complete passes, move the ball. So I've got to look at where I can be better. But yeah, I think we all need to work to get into a rhythm and execute consistently down the field.
Last year you had a tough week one game and then a stretch where things didn't go so well that you wanted after that. How do you prevent that from happening this year?
Yeah, I think it's about seeing where we need to be better and addressing those areas and then executing. It comes down to making the play, executing, and getting going. So I know we got the guys to do that. Confident in myself, confident in the group, and we'll go from there.
Daniel, how much did the overall play of the offense surprise you today, given the fact that it felt like you guys came out of training camp feeling pretty good?
Yeah, obviously we expected to play much better than we did today. A lot of things we didn't do well, like I said, and thought we had a good week of preparation, had a good week of camp, or had a good training camp. So we've got to look at the things we need to do better today and clean those up.
Were there any glitches with Dabo calling the plays at all, or anything along those lines?
No, it was smooth. Yeah.
The fans seem to get restless early as you guys struggle to get into a rhythm. How does that affect you guys when you're hearing the boos get louder and you're struggling to try to get things rolling? And plus with a lot of some young guys on the team too.
Yeah, I think it's our job to give them something to cheer about and to play well, to execute, and we take that seriously. So, they expect us to play well. We expect to play well. We've got to do that.
Excuse me if I missed this, but did you talk about the interception in the end zone? And could you take us through that? Like, did you not see it, or like someone in your way, or?
Yeah, just the screen out to Wandell. I think trying to get the ball out quick, get it in his hands, let him run.
Daniel, I apologize if this has been asked, but how did it feel in the pocket today? Pressure, you looked at, I don't know, didn't look about 100% comfortable at times as you were trying to.
Yeah, I've got to do a good job of, of staying in there when it's good and moving and find the soft spot, look at where I can do that better. Something I'm always working on.
What bothers you most, and I know you're just off the field here, but about your performance today when you look at it, what's the thing you'd like to take back most?
The fact that we scored 6 points, didn't execute in the red zone, didn't consistently execute and move the ball. I think all those things.
Is there a specific play, though, that bothers you the most?
No. I mean, I think I'll look at it and see where I need to be better. But yeah, there's we need to improve. I need to play better.
How did the line function in your opinion today, getting out there for the first time in game action with them?
Say it again?
The offensive line. What did you see from them and getting out there in game action for the first time?
Yeah, I thought they played well. I think we'll look at the film, see where I can help them out, see where we can do things better. I think we'll look at it, but I think that'll be something we focus on this week.
How do you think Malik did in this first NFL game?
He played well. He had a couple big plays and some nice catches. I got to find a way to get him the ball more.
Take a few more.
Daniel, is it discouraging? Like, is it?
It's certainly frustrating and disappointing to get the result, today that we did. I think for us, we got to understand this is the first week and there's a lot of football to play, so we've got to clean it up. We got to make some improvements fast and a lot of football to play, so that's what we're going to do.
Is there anything you're looking forward to against the Commanders?
Clean it up and playing better.
That's Giants quarterback Daniel Jones. Our player press conferences during the post-game show are brought to you by MetLife, the official insurance company of the New York Giants. We're going to take a break. We'll do one more segment with Bob. Jonathan Casillas will rejoin us as well, right here after the Giants' 28-6 loss to the Minnesota Vikings at MetLife Stadium.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the WFAN Giants Radio Network.
This is Wanda Robinson, and you're listening to the radio home of Big Blue, The Fan, WFAN, and WFAN FM, New York.
Back here on Giants Extra Point, John Schmeelk, Bob Papa, Jonathan Casillas. Giants fall to the Minnesota Vikings 28-6. And guys, we just heard from Daniel Jones in that last segment. JC, let's start with you. Obviously not happy with the way he played, and you just need more than 6 points out of an offense if you're going to win any games really in the National Football League, which unfortunately was kind of the story we had with this offense overall last year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He just never looked settled. He never looked settled at all today, and at times he had a clean pocket. I think last year, we talked about the 3 quarterbacks that played last year for the New York Football Giants, Daniel Jones getting hurt twice. Today, he kind of had a relative clean pocket for, majority of the 42 passes, and he couldn't hit guys, and this is the thing. I expect sloppy ball, Bob. Like, there's sloppy ball happens, but, like, when everybody's sloppy, you can't have one particular person, especially a guy that's throwing the football, playing worse than sloppy. There's drops that happen. There's, people that not run the right routes. That's what happens the first game of the year. But, like, the performance of Daniel Jones, it's going to be a long week for him to recover from. But, Commanders next week, and he has had some historical success against them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Carl and I, we've been huge supporters of Daniel Jones. I mean, I remember his rookie season. I know what he did 2 years ago. He cut down on turnovers. He ran the ball and everything else. But you can't, as people are driving home listening, you can't defend the fact that he was as sloppy as the rest of the team, because the reason why quarterbacks get paid a lot of money and the quarterbacks that give you a chance to win a championship are those who take things when they are down and they elevate the team. We celebrated the 100 seasons of Giants football. In 2011, the Giants were ranked 30th in rushing yards and rushing yard attempts, yards per attempt in the 2011 season. They didn't run the ball like they did in 07, 08, even 2010. And defensively, OC and Tuck were hurt. Their defense was not even middle of the pack. It was in the lower third. But Eli Manning led 8 fourth quarter comebacks and I think 4 of them were within the last 2 minutes, and he elevated that team. He made Victor Cruz. He made Manningham better. He had Akeem Nicks. When you're paying your quarterback what the Giants are paying Daniel Jones, he can't play on the same level as the malaise, as guys dropping passes, guy missing an assignment here, whatever. The quarterback has to elevate, and that's the thing that he did not do today. He played to the level of everybody else, and the quarterback can't do that.
And in the National Football League, JC, if you have an open wide receiver and you're not under pressure as a quarterback, you have to make accurate throws in those situations. It's one thing if you're off your back foot, a guy's hanging on you, it happens. But when there's an open receiver, especially within 10, 15 yards, if you want to be a consistent offense, those are plays you have to consistently make.
Yeah, and he even said it too. He said, I got to be better at my footwork, because there were times he
said
had
balance. Yeah.
clean pockets, and his footwork looked like he was getting rushed. And, that's an issue, I believe. Hopefully he can correct it. He's going to need to correct it.
Yeah,
right,
Bob,
because you could talk about guys dropping passes, which they did, but even when guys are dropping passes, you got to have the quarterback still putting it on them and give them opportunities to drop more.
Yeah.
Don't also be part of the problem. All right, we got a couple of drops, but then the other freebies that you have are inaccurate. That's the way you elevate the team, and unfortunately today he didn't do that.
Giants had 4 explosive passes of 15 yards or more in the game. 2 to Malik Neighbors, 1 to Wanda Robinson, and Theo Johnson had 1. Vikings also had 4, by the way, so there wasn't a big disparity there. And Brian Dable mentioned this briefly, Bob, in his press conference. I wonder if the fact that the Vikings did not pressure that much in this game, we talked all week, they led the league in 0 blitzes last year where they had no help. They didn't blitz nearly at all in the first half. In the second half, they started to do a little bit more of it. I wonder if all that coverage they were playing, if the Giants' game plan was prepared for that necessarily, or if they were looking for more of those pressures.
They might have. I mean, yeah, why not, right? Why not surprise the offense you're going against by not blitzing them, thinking that they're going to have to get the ball out quickly, but you're actually sit back in coverage. Well, there are adjustments that happen. Then you see the card that they're playing. It's like, okay, let's make adjustments. There's 4 quarters of football here, guys.
No, I get it.
And you get exposed to something early. There's such thing as making adjustments. You don't have to wait to halftime either. You don't have to wait till you get on the plane.
The whole thing about you played in this league. I mean, you played for Belichick. You played for Tom Coughlin. This whole magical thing about halftime adjustments is BS. The guys that are the really good coaches are adjusting from series to series.
Right after the series.
They're looking at the tablets. They're getting information. They're figuring out. They're getting feedback from the coaches, and they make adjustments as they go along. You wait to halftime to make an adjustment, you're losing the game.
Too late.
So they didn't adjust. Whatever their plan wasn't good on either side of the ball against what Minnesota's plan was. And then the adjustments that needed to happen didn't happen well either.
Right. On offense, when they adjusted to whatever they were seeing on defense, it's almost like they went totally conservative. There were times where the Giants didn't throw the ball past the line of scrimmage 3 or 4 or 5 plays in a row. And this is supposed to be an explosive offense. And it's like the pressure's not there. They're sitting back and playing coverage. Are we going to have time to get the ball down the field? Because I just felt like the pocket, we complained last year a lot that they didn't have protection. Any quarterback, there's 3 quarterbacks that played for the Giants last year. We were complaining a lot about the pocket not being clean. Yeah, there was some sacks there, but there was a lot of times where there was some clean pockets and plays just were not executed.
Yeah, there were 5 sacks in this game, but it wasn't every single play. There's
not.
a guy in the backfield hanging on the quarterback in this game.
Absolutely not. Yeah, it's not like last year where there were free runners coming everywhere. I mean, there was one, but Jones avoided the guy, and then he wound up running into a sack anyway. Yeah, I mean, they played bad. They didn't play well. I mean, right? I mean, listen to all these fans for generations driving home. They're listening. Everybody saw what they saw. Now they have to figure out a way to get better because they're going to be playing Dan Quinn's Washington Commanders next week. It's a new team. It's a whole new look. They got Jaden Daniels at quarterback. And forget it. Like we said earlier, going into this game, you can't say, well, man, the Giants kind of got a recipe against the Vikings. That was 2 years ago with a different defensive coordinator. You want to talk about the Giants' rich history over the last 15 years against Washington and pretty much smoking them all the time? That's a new head coach. Everybody's gone. They got a new quarterback. So they got to get better and fast.
Real quick. Because, listen.
Doesn't get any easier.
Every single week, it's only 17 of these things, right? It's not like the NBA. It's not like other leagues, baseball, where you can drop a couple and you'll be fine. If the Vikings are in it at the end and the Giants actually do something this season and have a respectable record, the Vikings are a team that they're probably going to be vying for that spot for. You know, so it's like, I'm not trying to look down the road, but every single game matters. Every game matters. This game was a huge game. Next week is a huge game. And, you know, we know the schedule can get, you know, it's going to get real rough after next week. But you gotta, and it's not even about winning and losing all the time. Like, be respectable, you know, and last year we were walking off the field, leaving the stadium so many times when it wasn't competitive. It wasn't a respectable matchup. Yes, it was a little bit competitive today, but I feel the same as I felt 40-0 Sunday night, first week last year against the Giants versus Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a fan, I think that's the thing that has to have you most concerned right now is that, hey, look, you know that there's some flaws with the roster, and it's still a developing situation in year 3 of Joe Shane and Brian Dable. But, you know, you lose this game 27-23, and Justin Jefferson makes a couple big plays, and you just don't have the guys necessarily to cover them, and the corners are young. You say, okay, man, that stinks, but okay, what are we building off of? When you know, what happened today is very alarming because, you know, you're sitting there saying to yourself, show me some glimmer. Show me something somewhere.
And also, Bob, this roster, it looks better on paper. The offensive line has improved. You have an elite pass rusher. You have, you know, talented young secondary guys. You have a number one wide receiver who proved that today. And it's still the same feeling. It's still the same almost result and feeling that we had all of 2023.
No question about it.
It
Bob?
goes back to my point before about your quarterback, when things aren't going well, needs to take the team on his back and elevate. And obviously that didn't happen
And
today.
I said this to JC at halftime, Bob. You know, the first couple weeks at camp, the passing game seemed to be a little, timing was off and some inaccuracies, but then it kind of got turned around later in camp. Let's hope this is a mirror, right? You get this stuff in week 1, you get it out of the way, and then it gets picked up starting next week with Washington, because then the next 6 games, as JC mentioned, all against teams that finished over 500 last year. So it gets tough quick.
Yeah, but the Bengals are like the Giants. They're 0-1.
That's the thing. And look, and I will say this, a lot of weird things happen in week 1 every year.
For sure.
No question.
Well,
teams don't look like themselves. Weird things happen.
And then weird things happen in week 2, which is why people get slaughtered in those knockout pools.
That is absolutely true. Bob, good stuff today. Thank you.
All right.
All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, Carl Banks will join us for a segment as we continue on Giants Extra Point. Giants fall to the Vikings 28-6.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the WFAN Giants Radio Network.
This is Bobby Okereke, and you're listening to the radio home of Big Blue, The Fan, WFAN, and WFAN FM, New York.
Empty set, Darnold in a shotgun. Calls out signals, takes the snap, back to throw, sidearms it right to Ham underneath, catches it at the 15, fumble the football, recovered by the Giants. Did Okereke get the fumble recovery? Drew Phillips knocked it out. The officials are saying yes.
That was today's Play of the Game, brought to you by our local Ford stores. One engine drives this team. For current offers, visit buyfordnow.com. Ford, official truck of the New York Giants. John Schmeelk, Jonathan Casillas. Giants fall to the Vikings 28-6 here in their home opener of 2024. Now we're joined by Carl Banks. He did a little spot on TV for us. Now he's up here doing radio, the man of all media. Mr. Banks, we just heard the Play of the Game for the Giants. That was Bobby Okereke fumble recovery, with the fumble forced by rookie Drew Phillips. In fact, it was the first play that he was even in this game. They were in base defense the first 2 snaps. That was the third one. I thought the rookies, if you want to take some glimmer of light ahead of this game, you saw some of the rookies make some plays throughout.
Yeah, well, it was feast or famine with the rookies, because Drew Phillips he's a really good tackler, forced the fumble, so he had some good plays. Moore Sal had some good plays, and then he had one glaring one on a seam route up the seam. That was a big play for the Vikings. So they're learning, and I said this prior to this game that you're going to have to live with some of these things until these kids come of age. But overall, I just think they need to be better. I think they know they need to be better, not just the rookies, but the veterans too. I don't think Minnesota did that much. It was just more of the Giants not executing their game plan. Like if you listen to the players in the locker room, I heard Burns say, hey, look, they didn't do anything that we didn't expect them to do. I heard the coach say, well, nope, they just played, coverage. They didn't blitz as much, but that shouldn't have affected us. But yet, one team looked like a preseason game and the other one looked like a regular season game.
Hey, Carl, that's my question for you. Brian Dable was asked a question during his press conference. Is there anything you can point to walking out of this game that you can say, all right, well, we did that pretty well? And he said, right now, I really can't think of anything. So when you see an across-the-board issue with the team struggling on both sides, a lot of mistakes, penalties, go down the list. We've been through it already. You and Bob did a good job going through it during the game. How do you address that when you can't even grasp on the one thing where you say, well, if we build on this and just when everything goes wrong in a game like this?
Well, we are sitting, from a higher level of visuals. They hone in on it, and they can look at whose responsibility was what and what would make a play go better or worse, and then they can fix that. But for us, it just as a whole, it looks sloppy, right? And for them, they can pinpoint why a play didn't work. For instance, there were some passes by Daniel Jones. You don't know if it was receiver stopping or Daniel just being inaccurate, right? There were other ones where Daniel throws it a little high and the guy drops it. That's the obvious, but what can they do better to create better timing for their offense? Daniel gets a sack. I think his last sack of the game, he drifts left, and then the pass rusher comes off the block and makes a sack. So could he be better in the pocket? Is he moving the wrong way? All of these things they have to clean up because your opponent's going to say, hey, look at this film. All we got to do is bring energy, and they'll beat themselves.
And to Bob's point earlier, JC, you do honestly have to look at the tape for a lot of the stuff to figure out the type of particulars that Carl's talking about. I always sit down Monday morning, I go through it, and I always think things differently after I go through the tape on Monday than after I walk out of here on the post-game show on a Sunday. So if you're a player and you're sitting down for your film session tomorrow after a game like this, how do you go through it to figure out exactly what you fix, not only as a team, but for yourself as an individual?
Well, I think you first start look at yourself, look what you can do to help, play better to improve your personal play. And then if there's anything out there that you can, see that maybe collectively that y'all are not performing well together as a linebacker room, I play linebacker, but it's just self-improvement. It's not one player going to change the whole defense, It's a mentality that everybody has to have. I feel like whatever mentality they might have had in the first half, it kind of got erased by the second half, and that's not good. Like I said earlier, when they were competing, right, the game was still going on. It was the third quarter. Yes, it was kind of out of control, but the game is not over, right? I did not see the sense of urgency there. I didn't see them getting to the ball, lining up. I didn't see them running off the field.
JC, even at 21-6, when DJ throws the pick six, it's just a two-score game at that point.
Right.
In the third quarter.
Right.
Like, the game is still not out of reach.
Right, but still, though, it's still a game, and anything can happen. It was sad to see that this defense that just made a defensive stop, you can see their body language as they walk off the field. It's not just a poor performance by the offense. It's a defense that's supposed to be dominant that didn't hold up to that, and they're also having the same type of body language as the offense. It's a collective effort. It's not one person. It's not one group. It's a collective effort to lose like this at home opening week.
Yeah, I mean, they have to be better, point blank, across the board. Now, you give the other guys credit where it's due. They have two very good tackles. That's probably the strength of their offensive line. So you knew that your edge rushers were going to earn their paycheck. One guy got there a few more times, but Thibodeau didn't have anything on the stat sheet. So They just got to be better. If you're going to be as good as you say you are, as good as people are saying you are, you got to show up and do some things. And they're just not. They just haven't. They didn't impact this game.
Carl, you mentioned Brian Burns and what he said after the game. We have audio from him in the locker room. So let's take a listen to Brian Burns after the Giants' 28-6 loss.
Yeah, Dex had a second in the real early first series.
Yeah.
Other than that, we were around him. I got a couple hits on him. KT got a couple hits on him. It was just hard to get them off their game plan and get them off their track. You know, they did a good job at executing what they wanted to do. That's play action. Shots to 18, try to lower you down with the run game, and they kind of did that.
When you just can't get it going as a team, really, offensively, defensively, in a game like this, what do you do in terms of reacting going forward?
Going forward, you talking about in the game or after?
No, like one game is behind you now. As you go forward, what's your approach?
It's always getting back to the drawing board, getting better. It's going to be a whole new week, new opponent. So now that this is behind us, you learn from the mistakes and you move on.
How frustrating is this for your first game with the Giants? Expecting the place was electric with a lot of the legends here.
Yeah, it was great. Great vibe. The fans came out. They were loud. Great. Like I said, football is football. Momentum switches and it's just football. Anything can happen. So. I wouldn't say disappointed because I just know how the game goes. I've been playing for a while, and I know how things can get.
Was it interesting how quickly the fans turned on you? Halftime, they're booing you. The third quarter, they're
I didn't hear it.
Brian, we're not used to seeing Darnold be as sharp as he was today, but he had his first 11 passes out of the gate. Did you see anything different about him than what you've seen on film?
No, I've told y'all Darnold was talented. I told you we had to get around him, we had to affect him, which I feel like we did a good job of. But at times, he was able to stay on track. But I told you he was talented. So, I don't overlook opponents. And I played with him for 2 years.
Coach said this team was really prepared. The Giants were ready to go. Just going to look at the tape and try to evaluate what happened. Can you put your finger on anything specific for today?
Not exactly. You got to watch the film, and then really see what happened, what went down, and go from there.
And Carl, I think a big reason Sam Darnold was so sharp, as Brian Burns made the point, they were around him, didn't get to him enough. He had a lot of clean pockets, and this has been a consistent factor for the Giants the last 2 years, Carl. No team has scored fewer points than the New York Giants in first quarters in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah,
they come out of the gate slow. Once the Vikings get a lead like that, they don't have to force Sam Darnold to force anything down the field, and that's how he protects the football.
Yeah, they didn't put him in a lot of situations where he had to make plays either. Let's just be honest.
No, exactly.
They kept the chains moving. Their down and distance management was great, and he took, he made 2 really good plays that really made the difference in this game, the Jefferson play and then the seam route. So he didn't turn, he didn't turn into the guy that people thought he would during the course of this game. He was in control and he ran their offense effectively.
And a lot of that, JC, was the run game. When you can't stop the run game consistently and you're not putting them in, bad second and longs, third and longs. And again, if they're playing from ahead, all right, it's 3rd and 12. You complete a pass for 8 yards and you punt. Mm-hmm. You're going to live with that. It's not like you're sitting there and you have to convert this 3rd down because you're down 2 scores in the 3rd quarter. That's when mistakes tend to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we talked about Justin Jefferson, all week leading up to it, the broadcast earlier today before the game. And I said, it's not only about Justin Jefferson, you have to stop Aaron Jones. Because Aaron Jones will open up holes for Justin Jefferson. Mm-hmm. Because if you can run the ball efficiently and effectively, then you cannot take that 7th or 8th man out the box. A lot of people like to do double coverage against guys like that. But if you have the option to run a really talented running back that runs hard, that can get outside the box, which he's done.
You can't have 2 safeties deep then.
It's hard to do that, So they effectively did that. Aaron Jones, as the game went longer and longer, he got stronger and stronger against, I think, a defense that they didn't give up. I'm not going to say anything like that, but they kind of bended a little bit in the second half.
And they bent, but then they let the team into the end zone, which was a big problem here, Carl. Yeah. Shane Bowen's defense coming in, historically it's been excellent in the red zone, but the Vikings were able to get in the end zone when they got inside the red zone today.
Yeah, they executed very well. That's the difference in this game. I think, when you look at on paper, this Minnesota Vikings team was in the Giants weight class.
Yep.
And they just outclassed the Giants in every phase of the game today. And there's just really, they just got to go get it fixed. And they got to do it while getting ready for another team, because it's, these are issues that'll continue to rear themselves if they do not get them fixed.
Carl, thanks for popping back up here,
right,
my
man.
friend. We appreciate it.
You got
Good
it.
broadcast. We'll see Carl next week. Giants take on the Commanders. It's another Sunday game at 1. Our coverage on the network begins at noon locally here at 11 a.m. Giants football is brought to you by Verizon, the official 5G network of the New York Giants. Verizon, America's most reliable network. Quick timeout. We'll come back here from Malik Neighbors. Then we'll wrap up the network portion of our post-game show right here after the Giants' 28-6 defeat to the Vikings in their opener at MetLife Stadium.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the WFAN Giants Radio Network.
This is Brian Dable, head football coach of the New York Giants, and you're listening to the radio home of Big Blue, the Fan, WFAN and WFAN-FM, New York.
Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification on the WFAN Giants Radio Network.
WFAN, WFAN-FM, WFAN-FM HD1 New York, and Odyssey Sports Station.
Back here at MetLife Stadium, Giants fall to the Vikings in their opener of the 2024 season, 28-6. Not a lot of good news to go around. Lone bright spot for the Giants has to be the play of their rookie wide receiver, Malik Neighbors. He was the Giants' 6th overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. Let's listen to him after the game in the locker room.
Malik, what did you think about your first regular season NFL game in terms of the tempo, the speed, and how do you think you did personally?
I feel like I did pretty well for my first game. Tempo slowed down since I first got out there, but still a lot of stuff to learn, so a lot of stuff to go look over the film and fix.
What kind of stuff did you see from their defense? I mean, it's clear everybody knows who you are, so there must have been some things that they were throwing at you that were maybe a little bit more complicated than the preseason.
I mean, nothing different than I saw on film. A lot of junk Tampa, really a lot of cover too. We just got to capitalize and stay on track, really. I mean, we beat ourselves today. We had a lot of penalties that we need to fix on, so, staying from backed up, when you backed up, it's kind of hard to get right on track, so you got to stay above the sticks.
Yeah, always difficult when there's so many penalties, but what do you think the other factor was in terms of being bogged down offensively? I know it also hurts to have to play from behind all the time.
Right. I mean, we got to catch the ball. We had way too many drops, including myself. I had one. But, when we get that opportunity to make a plays, we got to make those plays, and we didn't do that today.
Malik, obviously, they couldn't get you the ball in the first 2 or 3 series, I think. What was happening there? What was your reaction in not being able to get the ball? Because it looked like, based on preseason, Dable was going to feed you pretty regularly.
I mean, just look over the film, see what ways we can give me the ball in space. Daniel said he was trying to give me the ball. He saw a lot of pressure in his face, so, I can't control that. So, they tried to give me the ball, just stuff wasn't working right. So we just got to fix that up.
What emotions are you feeling right now? Frustration?
I mean, no, you're going to lose games. It's how really you bounce back. First game of the season does really determine your season. So, we just got to keep on going as a team.
Malik, you guys offensively, I'm sure, had hoped for a much better showing than this. So what are your thoughts on coming out and not scoring a touchdown?
I mean, first game of the season, a lot of new stuff going on, new online. So, we just got to, go over the film, practice way harder than we did, and just come out better next week. I mean, that's all really we can do.
You mentioned the practice stuff. How did you feel about the tempo in practice this past week?
Tempo in practice was pretty good. Like I said, a lot of penalties was beat it today. If we can stay above, keep on getting first down, stay past the third down, fourth down, it can help our offense, create some big plays.
Are you surprised you guys weren't able to get the ball downfield? I don't know if there was a 20, 30-yard throw attempted all game, and that's what all of training camp was, pushing the ball downfield.
I mean, we was taking what they give us. I mean, they playing a lot of zone. They was blitzing, running down the quarterback. So, we were just trying to get the ball and, in those coverages that they was trying to do, get the ball in space. They was doing a really good job of staying over the top of us receivers. So, Daniel was just trying to get it in those spots, open zones.
How do you put this aside quickly? You have a lot of games still ahead.
Right. I mean, you just got to go over the film, go back and practice tomorrow, look at the tape, and just be better next time. I mean, that's all you can do, really.
Very measured, mature press conference by Malik Neighbors. We talked about this in the preseason, JC, and we thought he handled himself very well, pretty consistently. But we're like, all right, well, let's see what happens when you get into a regular season game. Things don't go right and how he handles it. I thought he handled himself pretty well there. Pretty good, balanced answers, talking about the team as a whole, understanding that, he had a role in it. Everyone has to do a little bit better and not pointing the finger at anybody. I thought he did a really nice job there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had a pretty good game. I think it's easy to have a pretty good conversation afterwards when you played pretty well, even though your team lost. So let's see if, I don't want to say he's going to not play well, but, there's other people that didn't play well that I think, managed themselves very well. But listen.
And he was okay, by the way.
Stud.
He had five catches, 66 yards, by the way.
He's an absolute stud, and I think he had a little drop today. But, how many drops total did the team had? 5, 6 total?
Might have been 4 or 5.
Yeah. That's a number that's way too high.
Fox had 5 on their graphic in the second half.
Right.
I don't know what they had at the end.
Yeah. So that number is way too high. And with the inconsistent play from, I think, the quarterback position, Daniel Jones today, those receivers needed to bring those balls in to keep it competitive.
Yeah, sometimes when a quarterback is struggling, you need maybe elevate him a little bit, give him some help. Maybe that'll help him find a little bit of a rhythm. And and even when they had that second drive, after they had the initial field goal, they get across midfield. They have 1st and 10 in the territory of the Vikings. They have 2 penalties. And all of a sudden, I think they ended up, a second and 26, Paul, I think, in that, something like that.
Right.
And you're not helping yourself. When your offense is a little out of sync, you can't then hurt yourself with penalties to put yourself in those situations where they knock themselves out of field goal range.
John, I had 2 thoughts about this that I really wanted to get out when I got up here to the booth. And number one was we were all very curious to see how Neighbors would be played by the defense. And they did a lot of zoning on him. They did not do a lot of guys sticking to him.
No.
Okay.
Well, they didn't play hardly any man the whole game.
At
the
all.
Vikings. It was almost
Very
all
little.
Correct.
Very little. And we were all curious about that. See, once Neighbors establishes himself in this league, and we talked about it, it could take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, who knows how many, and he establishes himself as a headache player, how are defenses going to play him? Because right out of the box, they want to make him prove himself at the NFL level.
I mean, honestly, though, Paul, I thought they treated him a little bit like a headache player today, to be totally honest with you. On that first drive, I believe it was Daniel Jones' second drop back. He drops back to throw. They were trying to hit Neighbors, I think, on a slant, and they had brought the safety over to undercut the slant. So I thought early they knew the Giants were trying to get the ball to him, which is why, again, they tried to scheme up that play. I think it was Jones' second pass of the game, and he looked over there, he pumped it, he had to throw it back, and then he got it out into the flat.
Yeah.
Remember, he had to go to the opposite side of the field to Singletary on this side, and ended up losing 6 yards on the play. But they did try to get to Neighbors early, but I thought the Vikings were all over it.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the play where they only had 1 wide receiver on the field too. That might have been the play.
It might have been. No, it might have been.
See, what bothers me, though, John, is when you respect a guy who's going to make big plays, a headache player, not only do you have a plan in place for him, but you also don't give him as much space as he had. Neighbors had a lot of space today.
Well, they were playing soft zone.
They absolutely played soft zone. And with a guy who's supposed to be a yak monster, if you give a guy like that space, he's supposed to burn the living crap out of you with yak yardage. Because once you give him space, he catches the ball, and now he makes his move, and it's too late for you to do anything.
Yeah, when I go back and watch them all, I'll have to see how much space he had at the line of scrimmage.
And I will do the same as well when I go back. But my initial feeling is that they did give him a lot of space to catch the ball and then do something. And that that was one thing. But the second thing I wanted to say is, and I asked Jonathan this, and this is just me. I'm not an NFL head coach, but when everything is going wrong, and it really was going wrong for the offense, they looked so discombobulated. It looked like every guy on offense needed a name tag to identify the guy they were playing with. That's how disjointed they looked during the course of the day. I just said to Jonathan, just to change it up, they didn't go to a no-huddle offense till the first play of the fourth quarter. Just to change things up, I might have gotten a quicker tempo going, rush guys up to the line, maybe go with a couple of no-huddle plays, a 2-minute offense, and try to run some real quick stuff just to see if that could ignite the gas on the stove and get something going. They just kept with the same huddle up, methodically coming out, watching the play clock drain down, and then hiking the ball. That was odd.
I kind of feel like they went passive on offense. I feel like early on in the game, they looked like they wanted to attack downfield. Maybe they didn't take advantage of every opportunity they had. But then in the second half, how many times did we see them actually throw the ball past the line of scrimmage?
Well, I wonder, seeing all that too deep zone and cloud coverages they were seeing, if they tried to lean into the run. We saw them come out in 13 personnel a couple of times.
Yeah,
I think
we
it was
did.
Start of the second half.
We did.
I think maybe they thought, based on how the Vikings were playing, they would have to pound the ball a little bit, and they were okay running the ball, but they weren't making those type of chunk explosive plays that really would make a team come out of that two safety shell.
Well, and that's part of the issue when you talk about Singletary, who's durable and reliable and steady, but he's not an explosive back.
Yeah.
He's not the kind of guy, and you know this, Jonathan, you played linebacker. Singletary gets to the second level, okay, if he gets a 10 or 15-yard gain, that's about the best you're going to get. He's not breaking it for 30, 35 or taking it to the house.
No.
That's not the kind of player he is. And as a defensive player, you know that.
Yeah.
So you play him differently, don't you?
Yeah, exactly, 100%. But he'll fit into a good offense that they can rely on him to get certain yardage when they need him, because that's what he is. He's not the home run hitter type of guy.
Right.
He's very reliable. He's very durable. But this is what I didn't like about the offense. They talked about that interception. What happened on that play? I know what happened on that play. It was a 4-by-1 play. There's only two plays you can run out of it. It's a screen front side and there's a slant back side.
Right.
That's the only play you can run.
Right.
And Van Ginkel, he didn't even rush. He just waited. And, that's because at times they were predictable on
Is
offense.
there anything a Luminor can do to make sure he can't
Cut
get his
block
hands
him.
up?
Cut block him.
Get him down.
Yep, cut block him. Yep. There's things that you can do. I've seen it. I've played against it where it's like, oh, the now pass is coming, but I'm getting my legs chopped out.
I figured on a play like that, it looked like he took his traditional vertical set on that. I thought you might want to try to short set Van Ginkel on that play, knowing you have to kind of create that passing lane, right?
So it's about execution, right?
Right.
You can have a scheme, and if it's the wrong call, if everybody's wrong but they execute it correctly, it's probably going to end up okay. You know what I mean? But if somebody misses something here, somebody do something right, and it could blow up in front of you like we saw. I don't know exactly what happened on that play, but what I saw, Van Ginkel did not rush.
I will say this.
He stayed at the line of scrimmage. He stayed at the line of scrimmage.
It was a heck of a play.
Oh, yeah, it was.
It was a really nice play.
It is. And sometimes the defense just calls exactly the right play for the formation you're in.
Yep. But like I said, that 4-by-1 play, there's only two things you can run out of it.
Right.
A backside slant or a frontside bubble or some type of now route.
And Van Ginkel is a smart player. He's a guy that one of the reasons they brought him in this offseason.
Well, he played for Flores in Miami.
Absolutely. And it's one of the guys he wanted him here in this scheme. All right, everybody, please stick with us if you're listening on our local flagship station, WFAN, but it is time to say goodbye to our affiliates across the country on the Giants Radio Network. Our next broadcast will be next Sunday when the Giants travel to take on the Washington Commanders with our pregame show beginning at noon on our network, 11 a.m. locally here on WFAN. Thanks for listening to us today, and we'll see you next week on the WFAN Giants Radio Network. But we are not done right here on The Fan in New York. Jonathan Casillas, Paul Dottino, we're with you for the next 45 minutes or so, taking your calls. We'll open up the phones right now if you want to get in at 888-808-1019. More sound from the locker room as well. We still got another 4 or 5 interviews we have not run yet. That and more when we return right here to MetLife Stadium. We'll be right back. Back here on Giants Extra Point, John Schmeelk, Paul Dottino, Jonathan Casillas, 28-6. The Giants fall to the Minnesota Vikings here. They begin their year 0-1. Let's take a listen to Dexter Lawrence. He had a chance to talk to the media after the game. He was, frankly, guys, one of the few Giants on this defense that I thought played pretty well. PFS has their initial detailed pass rush grades out there, and I don't care about the grade, but they have him for the sack early, a quarterback hit, in addition to the sack. They don't count them as the same category.
Right.
And then 6 hurries. So 8 total pressures in this game for Dexter Lawrence. So not a surprise. He was the Giants' best defender. And, again, this is the early stat counting by PFF. Just 14 pressures for the Giants in the game. No other player had more than 2 over the course of this game. So Dexter Lawrence was really the one guy that was a consistently
on only 24 dropbacks.
A factor. And, yeah, he had 8 pressures on 22 pass rushing snaps.
That is something else.
That's a really good day.
It really is.
So let's listen to Dexter after the game.
Dexter, how would you explain what happened out there today?
We lost. That's the only way to put it. No panic, though. Week 1, we got a lot to learn. It's just we just lost.
Why was Sam Darnold so effective?
His receivers were catching the ball. I don't know. I mean, we just got to, play a little tighter coverage. We got to get to the quarterback a little faster. We got to work more as a unit.
Any panic after one game?
No panic.
Why?
Because I know who we have in the locker room. I trust everybody in the locker room. We know we have confidence in each other, and we prepared well. They just beat us today.
Dexter, when you have a team down at the 1 yard line, that's where you want it to be. How difficult was it to give up a 99-yard touchdown?
Pretty difficult. Few plays that led to touchdowns for them. A couple penalties we got to clean up on. Other than that, we played them pretty well on defense. Just got to be more consistent.
You heard, obviously the crowd was excited. They had a nice halftime with the players. You're on defense, not offense, but there was some fans did not seem very happy with a lot of points in this game. Could you hear that on the sideline?
Could I hear the fans?
Yeah, I mean, they
however many fans there are.
Yeah, booing at home. Yeah, booing your team.
Could I hear them?
Yeah.
Can you get another question, please?
What do you make of that? What do you make of the
I don't respect it, honestly. I get it. They want to see their team win. It's just a rough patch. It just is what it is.
Dexter, after a tough first half, you guys came in at halftime, and I'm sure that you were thinking things could turn around in the third quarter, and then they didn't. What adjustments were you trying to make that just didn't seem to work out?
Just clean up on some penalties. That was the biggest thing. Defense, we had to do better on second and long. I think we came out in the second half and played pretty tough defense. But at the end of the day, we lost. We got to go in tomorrow and get the corrections and prepare again.
I just asked Kayvon some encouragement from Nubin, Mursal, Phillips. All these rookies made some significant plays.
Yeah.
And what does that tell you about those kids?
Just their want to, and just their confidence in themselves and their readiness to go out there and play as many snaps as they did, and do it at an effective level. So, I'm proud of them. We can't let that excitement carry to next week. Next week is a new week, and we got to go out there and prove ourselves.
Speaking of rookies, what did you see with Chapman sitting next to you?
Oh, good. Chad, he's very explosive, strong, little short dude. But he got heart and he got want to, and that's all you can ask for, a partner next to you.
What would you say is the key to making sure that one disappointing game doesn't turn into a string?
I think it's on the leaders, the captains of the team, just to get everybody's minds right, ready for the new week. Flush this, own it first of all. Own your bad plays, own your good plays. And I think it's just on us to turn the page and get the guys ready for the new week, new challenge.
When you look at tape, is there certain plays that you're looking forward to seeing closer on tape?
Just some runs that broke. For me, that's what I'll probably be looking for the most. Just some runs that broke through the line. Some sacks that could have been had. And then for the back end, just the coverage part of things. We just got to come out on Sunday and play better. That's it.
We look for the holes that didn't come.
I don't look for those. I don't look for holes anymore.
Today's stats are brought to you by the Archdiocese of New York. Learn more at innercitynyc.org. A 36% pressure rate for Dexter Lawrence in this game. Again, 8 pressures on 22 pass rushing attempts. No other Giant had a higher than a 10% pressure rate. DJ Davidson actually had 2 pressures on only 9 pass rushes. That's a pretty small sample size, but he had a couple pressures, and no one else had 2 pressures. A couple of the numbers in this game, folks, I'll give you. Daniel Jones, just 22 of 42, 186 yards, 2 picks. Devin Singletary, 10 carries, 37 yards. 6 carries, 15 yards for Daniel Jones. They tried to lean into the quarterback run game a little bit in the first half to not much effect. Malik Neighbors led the way, 5 catches, 66 yards. Wendell Robinson, 6 catches, 44 yards. Darius Slayton, 3 catches, 26 yards. Devin Singletary, 4 for 15, Theo Johnson, 1 catch, 18 yards. Eric Gray, Tyrone Tracy, Daniel Bellinger with a catch apiece. Tyler Nubin led the way with 7 combined tackles. Darius Musa with the interception off the deflection. He had 6 tackles. Rakeem Nunez-Roches had 5, 4 tackles apiece for Deontay Banks, Brian Burns, and Drew Phillips. Drew Phillips also with that forced fumble. Bobby Okereke, just 3 tackles in this game. Very odd for him to not have more tackles. He routinely gets over 100 in a season. He did have that fumble recovery on the Drew Phillips forced fumble, and the only sack of the game was by Dexter Lawrence on that first Vikings possession. For the Minnesota Vikings, we mentioned it earlier, Sam Darnold, super efficient, 19 of 24, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns. There's 1 pick coming off a deflected ball at the line of scrimmage. Bad luck. Aaron Jones, 14 carries, 97 yards, 6.7 yards per carry. Not what you're looking for there. And then through the air, again, Sam Darnold only 24 pass attempts. Justin Jefferson, 4 catches, 59 yards, including that touchdown. A 44-yard catch was the big play for him over the course of the game. Jordan Addison, 3 catches, 35 yards. He caught those 2 out throws from Sam Darnold, that one drive to set up the touchdown. 2 really nice throws in front of Nick McLeod.
Yeah.
Oliver, their tight end, 2 catches, 27 yards. Ty Chandler out of the backfield had 3 catches. Interception for Harrison Smith in the end zone. Andrew Van Ginkel, we talked about the pick 6. A sack for Harrison Phillips up front. Andrew Van Ginkel and Jones had a couple of sacks as well on the Vikings defense. So, guys, Dexter Lawrence was good, but again, just not enough guys making plays on the defensive side of the ball. You never really, and again, because they had the lead early, we talked about this earlier, Paul, the Giants, again, getting behind early, you never really made that Viking offense uncomfortable and forced them into difficult situations where, all right, so we punt here. That's okay. We're up 14-3. We'll live with that.
That's right. It makes all the difference in the world when you have to climb uphill the entire game. And quite frankly, and maybe you guys will share the same feeling here, after Drew Phillips forces the fumble, okay, and the Giants take over in positive territory and they settle for a field goal, it almost seemed to me like that's when things really started to cook for Minnesota. Right there, early in the game. That was a moral victory for them, to hold the Giants to an early field goal after that takeaway.
JC brought that up
right
at halftime.
I think it happened on the pass interference call from Adoree Jackson, which was the ensuing drive, right? Was that the next drive for the Vikings? And then they scored that drive as well. Plays like that, they happen. You can't,
well, you can't have a turning point of the game that early. That's the point.
Right. And you
can't
get
let that
deflated
happen
either. It's like big plays that are going to happen, for your team, and they're going to happen against your team.
Look, we talk about the overall poor performance, but there were some really big plays that hurt this team badly. It's the Adoree Jackson pass interference, letting them get out of the shadow of their own end zone on that
99-yard touchdown
10 at the 1-yard line. They ran that little play-action boot, and I think, was it the fullback or the running back, Ty Chandler? I forget. They were wide open when they kind of just slipped into the flat there.
It was a running back.
99-yard touchdown drive. That
and
can't
they
happen.
go back and they score. And they would have forced a punt if Adoree Jackson doesn't run into the wide receiver. It was one of those classic underthrown balls. He got his head around, but it was after he made contact with the receiver. So it was kind of bang-bang, but I understood why they threw the penalty flag on that. I didn't think it was some type of an egregious play. I got it. There was a lot of contact. And then you had them 4th and 2, or 4th and 3, was it? 4th and goal at the 3. And that's a play. If you can get a stop there, you get some momentum back, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe you can get something going. And I'm going to give Sam Darnold credit on that play because I thought Tay Banks actually had pretty decent coverage on Justin Jefferson on the slant.
He did.
And Jefferson and Darnold put the ball where only Jefferson could get it. And Justin Jefferson's Justin Jefferson. That's what Justin Jefferson does.
Yes.
But those were 3 of those kind of fulcrum plays where the game can go one way or the other, and the Giants never had any of those fulcrum plays go their way over the course of the game.
I mean, if you were going to have any last gasp attempt at a shot of oxygen, it really went out of the Giants' lungs when Jones got nailed for the pick 6 by Van Ginkel.
Oh, yeah.
That was the final nail in the coffin.
Because at that point it was
21-6.
So it was only a 2-score game at that point.
And the Giants have the ball with about 6 minutes or whatever it was to go in the third quarter. And I said to JC, you know what? If they go down here and score by the end of the quarter, it's a 1-score game going into the 4th, and there's at least a chance for them to start making some noise.
And by the way, there was one other play in the first half. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Paul. I'm sorry. You were the 4th down. right? Daniel Jones on the quarterback keeper trying to keep it the run, couldn't get it. That's another play where you're around midfield, you have a chance to maybe get some points out of it, and they couldn't convert the fourth down. So any of those plays, if the Giants can make them, maybe you can figure out a way to get some momentum. You get a little bit of confidence. Things start clicking a little bit. And again, this is all within the bigger picture of them, frankly, not playing well in very many aspects of the game.
Yes.
But maybe if you make a couple of those plays, at least you're in it late, and then who knows what can happen. Maybe you get pressure on Sam Darnold. Maybe he throws an interception. Any of those things can happen if you just make some of those big plays in those important spots. But the Giants could never do that in this game.
No, they couldn't. They couldn't offensively or defensively. I think they started hot, though. Like even getting 3 points, at least you got on the board. It wasn't a touchdown, of course, with a very reduced field created by Drew Phillips. And even the first drive, with the Dexter Lawrence sack, they had momentum early. But this is a game of momentum, and it's ebb and flow, right? It's
well, you know what, Jonathan? I'm going to disagree. I think they had the spark, but they never grabbed the momentum.
Okay.
And that's the problem.
Okay.
Right?
I could agree with that. I was talking defensively because that was 2 drives that, 3 points offensively, yes. But, like, after that, they really had nothing for a while. And it's like I said, the momentum goes back and forth because there's 3 separate units that are on the field at different times. There's offense, there's defense, and there's special teams. And the ebb and flow happens throughout all of those different transitions of offense, defense, special teams. It happens through that. And if you're only doing it on defense and nothing on offense, there's no ebb and flow.
No.
There's no ebb and flow, and then eventually a play will happen against your defense or a 99-yard drive where it gets that from your defense, and all of a sudden your defense is down.
This was a great example of how not to play complimentary football.
Yeah, no, for real.
What's the opposite of complimentary?
Yeah.
Anti-complimentary?
I was looking for something more creative than that, but okay, that works too. Giants football is brought to you by our local Ford stores. One engine drives this team. For current offers, visit buyfordnow.com, Ford official truck of the Giants. All right, we'll take a quick timeout. The phone number is 888-808-1019. We'll come back. We'll go from Kayvon Thibodeau, and then we will start getting some callers in as well right here on The Fan. Giants fall to the Vikings 28-6. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the WFAN Giants Radio Network.
Darnold in a shotgun, Jefferson out left. Jones in motion to the right, looking for Jefferson, throws it left, touchdown Justin Jefferson. Ran a little in-cut on Banks and scores the touchdown.
And that fourth down conversion, 4th and goal at the 3, made it 14-3 Vikings. And that was our turning point of the game. Listen to Boomer and Gio on WFN tomorrow morning in the 9 a.m. hour for the Giants Turning Point contest. The first correct caller to name the game's turning point will win an autographed item by a Giants player. Giants fall to the Vikings 28-6. Let's listen to Kayvon Thibodeau. He addressed the media in the locker room after the game.
What do you take away from that game? What's your feeling coming out of that game?
We just got to keep going. We got to be honest with the film. We got to be, we got to address the facts and see better for next week.
Facts that you had 0 tackles. How does that sit with you?
It is what it is, I think I might have missed one, but, you got to do what you can. You got to set edges, affect the quarterback, and then, continue to, make impact on the game.
You know that a lot's on you guys in the pass rush up front. Like that's what this team's supposed to be built on. How much?
Anybody else got questions?
Why is that a bad question for you?
Go ahead. What happened on that tackle? Man, I tried to convert. I think I kind of hooked his face mask.
How tough is it for defense to give up a play like that, at least a 99-yard drive? Is that what the ball
Man, it's tough, man. We can't really do much with the refs and the calls, but all we can do is just play the next down and, keep going.
Did Darnold do anything that surprised you? I think he just first 12 passes.
No, I think he was very, he was the guy we thought he was going to be on film. He made some smart passes. He played a great game, so, it is what it is.
Kayvon, we saw a lot of times last year you guys had to keep playing from behind. That happened again today. How difficult does that continue to be climbing uphill?
It's always, hard, getting uphill battle, hard to make tackles, hard to sack the quarterback, hard to do different things when you're, fighting from behind. But it is what it is, nature of the beast, they're not going to get easier. So we just got to, chop up the film and keep going.
Kevin, you're a confident guy. Do you worry about the confidence in this locker room?
Say it again.
You're a confident guy,
Uh-huh.
typically. Do you worry about the confidence when you guys had such high expectations?
No, I think we still keep our expectations high. We just work a little harder. We trim the fat, and we just continue to get better. I think we got a young group, so it's definitely going to have to continue to keep the morale together and keep the confidence going. But I think we'll be good. It's still early in the season.
Are you guys still confident that that front four, just rushing four, can get it done?
Yeah, I think we'll be able to get it done.
Newbin and Morsal made some plays
Yeah,
today. So
definitely.
did Phillips.
Yeah.
How encouraging is that for the young rookies to do things like that?
That's what it's going to take. I think, continuing to step up to the play when your name is called and continue to make the plays that come to you.
I want to get our other defensive leader, Captain Bobby Okereke, in here. He also spoke to the media after the game. Let's listen to him.
It's huge, especially not getting off the field on third down. Those penalties hurt you. That's what week one's for. You make those mistakes, you learn from them. I thought Dory was in great position. It was a tough call. But we'll go back from the tape and we'll learn from it. Getting off the field on third down, it'll be big for us going forward.
Bobby, how disappointing was it to start in this fashion?
Pretty disappointing. Not too discouraging. It's a long season. There's a lot to be encouraged by. Like I was telling Edward, the rookies played really well. I thought Darius played extremely well. I thought Andrew Phillips came in and played well. I thought Tyler Newman did a great job in the secondary. So there's a lot of building blocks to build off of. Now everyone's just got to hold themselves personally accountable.
How important is it to not get down on yourselves after just one game?
Yeah, very important. You can almost have to block out the media. Like, they'll tell you you're the worst team in the world or the best team in the world after 1 week, but it's a long season, 17-week season. We just got to go back, focus on our process of the results, and you focus on what we got to do Monday.
Bobby, one thing we thought a lot during camp was that the pass rush was going to be very dynamic. Didn't seem like it was today. Your thoughts about maybe why that wasn't the case?
That was probably their game plan, to take those guys out, run a lot of outside zone, play action, boot, get the ball out quick. So guys like Brian Burns, Dex can't get back there, which they were still able to, but that was probably a big emphasis for them game plan wise.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Darnell,
Yeah.
play a very simple game for him, not put him in any bad situations.
Yep.
I mean, did he surprise you with his ability today?
No. That's about what I expected. I played against him a lot in the Pac-12. It's fun competing against him because he's a gamer, like I said. He makes plays. They're going to run play action. They're going to run boot. I thought Aaron Jones is a great addition to their offense. He played extremely well. And that's a good team. Justin Jefferson is one of the best players in the NFL. And we just didn't execute well enough to win the game today.
A lot of people say that, or question the fact that the preseason is more limited. You don't get a lot of action, game time, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is this do you feel like this first game, it was a little rusty for everybody, and then now we're going to get into the flow?
Potentially. I know everyone's been preparing as hard as they can, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever, to get ready for this game. So, no, I believe everybody, treated this like it was the start of the season, and, we knew we had to put our best foot forward. We just didn't execute well enough. So, we'll go back, we'll watch the film, get in the weight room, start conditioning, and get ready for next week against Commanders.
JC, your thoughts from what we heard from the two of the Giants' leaders on defense, including their captain, Bobby Okereke.
They got to, look back at the film like they said. They got to check it out. And I think Kayvon said you got to be honest when you watch the film. You got to be honest with yourself.
But when these guys watch the film, what do you think the honest reaction is going to be?
Well, see, defensively, I don't know. To be honest, the stuff that I saw was the stuff that they don't show on film. They don't get guys running off the field and jogging off the field like that. But that's what I would talk about. I got a daughter. We all got kids, right? And our kids play sports. It's not just what you do on the court or on the field. It's about the stuff in between, how you interact with your teammates, how you receive coaching, the energy that you have. When I played here, right, Eli Manning, great quarterback, right? In 2015, Eli Manning was good. He was good. 2016, he threw some interceptions that year. And I had the mindset, and all of us had the mindset, that whenever he threw an interception, he turned the ball over, and he couldn't hold on to the ball, whatever the case is, it wasn't like, oh, my God, we out there again. No, we would run on the field with our hair on fire, and we would storm the field. because that says something to that opposing offense. And then when we made a stop, we celebrated, even if we were losing, even if we were down, because you never know what can happen in a game. And you have to have that energy for 4 quarters or more, because the game might go into overtime. And I just didn't see some things that won't get corrected on film because those things don't get recorded. And that's the thing, I've been literally talking about that the whole broadcast, because that is huge. That's stuff that you can't correct on the film, but it's something that needs to be discussed and worked on, because they have to have better collective effort as a whole team. It wasn't just the defense, it wasn't just the offense, it was the whole team. And that stuff is not going to show up on film when they watch tomorrow.
Yeah, Paul, here's the problem. When they look at this tape, and we kind of referenced this in the last segment a little bit, and we talked about this last year when the Giants gave up 85 sacks. When you get down big in games and other teams are able to just worry about the pass, unleash, and get upfield and go, it makes it so much easier for the pass rush. And this is not trying to make an excuse for the Giants pass rushers. You need to be more productive against this Vikings offensive line, no matter what the score is. Point blank, enough said. But the Vikings did not have to play that way because they were up. They didn't have to drop back and throw it 35 times in this game. We mentioned 24 passing attempts for Sam Darnold. A lot of those were quick passing attempts where you didn't really have a chance to get home and make a play. So all this stuff is cyclical, right? If the offense plays well, you get a lead. The defense has a chance to get after the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So with the way this Giants defense is structured, if you don't get leads and you can't let that pass rush cook, it's going to be difficult for them, I think, to be successful on that side of the ball.
I mentioned the word complementary football, okay? Well, the truth of the matter is the Giants are a team that as they try to climb up to the next rung or two on the ladder and they hope for improvement, they're a team that's going to rely not only on complementary football but game flow. And if they don't have a competitive game flow and complementary football playing hand in hand, they are not going to be successful, because they don't have the kind of headache players on both sides of the ball that are going to be able to make big plays and to dig them out of holes in the second half.
And by the way,
they just don't.
And for the headache players that they have, they need them to make those types of plays.
Right.
And they didn't have enough of those today.
No.
Right.
And so again, quite honestly, I don't want to beat this dead horse into the ground, but you know, we talk about Neighbors is going to be that guy. He's got to prove it to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And until he proves that, he's not a headache player. Not yet. He's got to prove that. Now, today, he made some nice plays, but nothing super spectacular. He's going to have to make a few super spectacular plays in order to become that guy.
All right, let's take a call here, 888-808-1019. Let's go to Rocco in Endicott. He's going to be our first caller up here on Giants Extra Point. Hello, Rocco.
Hey, how are you?
What's going
we're
on,
just on
Rocco?
the
What
way
do you got?
back from the Giants. We're on the way back from the Giants game today, and I'm disgusted. And I just want to know, when do you guys think that it's time to pull the plug on Daniel Jones? Because, like, he's not a rookie anymore. We're in year, 6 now of him. I understand the contract and everything and all the money after this year. Is like, we can just release him, all the dead cap, stuff like that. We just tried going to get Neighbors in the draft, give him a weapon. But it's evident on Hard Knocks that this team really, Daboll has no faith in him. This coaching staff has no faith in him. And he's just not the guy that we wanted him to be and that we want him to progress to be. So, like, why not just give Drew Lock a shot?
Rocco, appreciate the call. I don't think it's a situation where, and I don't even think it's a consideration where you're, making a change at quarterback after one game. I think we heard Daniel ask that during his press conference, actually, and Casillas started laughing when he heard the question.
No.
This is not a situation where the hook's going to be that short. He took every single first-team rep in practice this spring and summer when he was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
He is the starting quarterback. Now, what happens over the course of the next 3 months, who knows? We aren't here to tell the future. But Brian Daboll was asked at his press conference. I think he was asked, "Do you still have confidence in Daniel?" I believe, and he said yes. If not, I
he don't really give straight answers like that, so that definitely wasn't his answer.
But this is not a situation, Paul, where we're going to be talking about in week 2 after one bad game they're making a change at the quarterback position.
I mean, look, there is no question that this was a skunk today. It was all around a skunk game for the Giants. That's a fact. No one is going to deny that, and no one's going to sugarcoat it. It was what it was. The fact is, it was also game 1 of 17.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, that doesn't mean you wait 17 games, though, either.
Oh, it doesn't.
No, absolutely
it doesn't.
not.
It doesn't at all. But anybody who would make a change after just one game at any position and bench any player after just one game. Heck, remember last year when Trey Hawkins was a rookie and he started out really, really well in the preseason, and they made him the starting corner to start the season. And they waited till week 3. The first couple games, he really showed his inexperience. He was in over his head, and then, okay, now the third week we're going to make a change. You don't do it after 1 week, all right? Even after 2 weeks, to be frank, you don't do it. The point is you have to have a bigger sample size than just one game. And, oh, by the way, in case you people didn't watch the whole game, the whole team skunked out today.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Daniel Jones cost the Giants today's game. They were really bad in like every facet.
Now, in fairness, Daniel didn't help them win the game either.
Right.
He was part of the problem.
Right. The difference is between the example you used in Trey Hawkins as a rookie last year and Daniel Jones, it's not his rookie year. And Dayball has seen some of these things. I don't think the leash is as long as we might think it is. You know, and I'm trying to be optimistic here. You know, I don't think it's next game either. Like if Daniel Jones performs similar next game as he did this game, I don't think it happens after that. I don't think so. I think the leash is not as long as midseason though. Like you can't play this well. You can't play like this for half the season.
Absolutely
and play.
not.
I think
Absolutely
around the
not.
first quarter of the season, if things do not get better, then the leash might be discussed.
And I'm so glad you brought
but
that
it's
up.
not going to
Jonathan.
be next week. It's not going to be next week. No.
I'm so glad you brought that up because we've talked about this also many times in the last how many years. And by the way, the Giants are now 1-7 in their last opening day games to start the season, which is just not a good way to get off to start the year.
Yeah.
But having said that, we have said this for a long time, and we keep saying it. September football, because of the way that preseason snaps are delegated.
Yeah, but Paul, hold on a second.
We see poor football.
Sam Darnold looked great today.
I understand that. But the point being,
I don't want to use that as an excuse.
I'm not using it as an excuse.
Right, yeah.
What I'm saying is every single NFL coach, general manager who's had any experience in this league will tell you don't know what your team is until the third or fourth week of the regular season.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's a fair point. That's fair.
Yeah.
And so I don't expect any coach, to be frank with you, to start pulling the plug on anybody around the league until at least 3 or 4 games.
And I'll just say this in the offseason, too. People watched Hard Knocks. Was it clear the Giants were interested in making a move for a quarterback they think could develop into their, the Josh Allen that Joe
they
Shane
talked about
and Brian Dable had in Buffalo?
Right. They
Yeah,
talked
it was
about
pretty clear on Hard Knocks that they were looking to do. That doesn't mean that that's different than saying they have no confidence in Daniel Jones. If
Correct.
they had no confidence in Daniel Jones, they could have went out there and spent money on Gardner Minshew the way the Raiders did, right? Or brought in a different quarterback, not bringing in someone that they believe is a backup. They could have had an open competition for the starting job in the summer. They did not have an open competition for the starting job in the summer.
Well,
so I just want, because the caller said based on that it was clear they have no confidence in the player. I'm just making the point that the fact that they were looking to trade for a player in the draft doesn't mean they have zero confidence in Daniel Jones. It means that they were willing to look for a guy they thought could be an upgrade, but it doesn't mean that they have zero confidence in the quarterback.
I'll go a step further.
That's fair, right?
I'll go a step further. The reports were that Russell Wilson stopped in on the Giants before he went to Pittsburgh, right? And why did Russell Wilson make his pit stop and then go right over to Pittsburgh and then sign there? Because the people in Pittsburgh pretty much told him, all right, it's going to be a competition and you're going to have a chance to start. He did not get those words here because had he gotten those words, maybe he would have stopped and stayed. But he did not. He went right on to Pittsburgh where they told him it'll be a competition and you're going to have a real chance to be the starter. So that, to your point, John, tells you that the Giants were not out on Daniel Jones.
They can't be.
They can't be.
Because it's a business.
And
they're locked in.
And furthermore.
For this year.
For this year.
And furthermore, if they were all in on going after Drake May, they would have pulled a Mike Ditka and traded their whole draft like he did for Ricky Williams.
Yeah.
Okay?
By the way, and that still might not have worked. Based on the phone call that they aired on Hard Knocks, that might not have worked anyway. Giants TV, presented by Bob's Discount Furniture, is the official connected TV app of the New York Giants. Available for free now on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and inside the Giants mobile app. Stream game highlights, interviews, TV shows, and more exclusive video content with Giants TV. But look, there's no question Daniel Jones and this team have to play better. Otherwise, you're not going to win many games this year.
Significantly better.
So everybody has to play better. Let's take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll take a couple more calls, a couple more pieces of audio from the locker room, and then we'll wrap things up on Giants Extra Point. The Giants fall to the Vikings 28-6.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the WFAN Giants Radio Network.
We're back here on Giants Extra Point. The Giants fall to the Vikings 28-6. All right, we got a bunch of calls. You guys doing a great job out there. 888-808-1019. But first, the last piece of audio from the locker room. Pete Hoffman down there did a great job gathering all the sound for us. Andrew Thomas was downstairs. We wanted to hear from one of the offensive linemen addressing the media after this game.
Things just didn't get started for you?
It was multiple things. We had multiple penalties, negative plays, sacks. When you have those are drive killers. It's hard to get in the rhythm when that happens, so we have to do our best to eliminate those.
Andrew, we've seen so much happen in practice in the last month, though, that looked like it was functioning well. So how disappointing and surprising is it that you guys did get kind of caught on one today?
I wouldn't say it's surprising when that happens. Anytime there's penalties and negative plays, it's hard to overcome in this league. They played a great game on defense as well, so we're beating ourselves. It's really hard to compete.
I know you guys been looking at Vikings tape for a while. Was there anything there, especially early in the game, that was surprising or that maybe you didn't think you were going to see?
Yeah, it's week one. You know that there's going to be some oddballs that come out. They did a good job with mixing the rotations and different blitzes than what we saw on film from last year. But we knew Flores would have something different for us, and they did a better job executing.
We always talk that you got to get the running game going first, and the running game just never seemed to get on track. Can you put a finger on that besides the fact that Minnesota was able to get some pressure?
There was a lot of different things, just being on the same page up front, combination of blocks. They were moving a lot and pressuring a lot, so we just have to be better again, hat for hat, and open up run lanes for the running backs.
How would you assess, the performance of your group, the offensive line overall, for the first time out?
Not great. I would say piss poor. DJ, I think, was sacked 5 times. Pressured, I don't know how many times, and I don't care who you have back there. It's hard to play ball when you're getting hit that much, so we have to do a lot better. And obviously in the run game, we didn't do well either.
That's Andrew Thomas after the game. Guys, I thought the offensive line was okay. Obviously, you look at the 5-sack number, you don't like it. But we mentioned this earlier, Paul. You weren't up here yet. It didn't feel like a game last year when they gave up 5 sacks. Remember, last year they gave up 5 sacks a game. That's how you get to 85 for you math majors out there. It didn't feel like a game from last year, though, where the quarterback did not have a chance back there. Daniel Jones had plenty of clean pockets.
It was rough, but it wasn't jailbreak central, if that's what you're talking about. Because last year, especially in the opener against Dallas, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, I thought the offense had plenty of time back there to function.
Yeah, the thing about it was, though, John, and I said before, and I wasn't trying to be half-hearted about it, the whole offense just looks disjointed. The receivers, Howard Cross was saying during the course from the game down on the field, it didn't look like the receivers were on time. Jones was missing guys where he shouldn't miss. His timing was off. His accuracy was off. There were times where it looked like they had a play set up, but the pressure coming from where it was, certain parts of the pocket were collapsing like where he didn't expect it to. It was almost like they didn't have a feel for him and where he was setting up. Everything just seemed like every part of the jigsaw puzzle was the wrong piece, and nothing was fitting. And when that happens, it's like the ultimate frustration, and you get a performance like you got today. And, that's why, again, not to sugarcoat any of this, it was bad all the way around. And, they always say you're never as good as you looked, and you're never as bad as you looked. Well, the Giants need to hope that holds true because they got more talent on this team than what they showed today.
By the way, we were talking during that break about Brandon Aubrey. He just lined up a 66-yard kick against the Browns outdoors. He made it, but the Cowboys got called for delayed game.
That's what just happened just now?
He made a 66-yard kick outdoors. I think they might let him try from 71.
In Cleveland.
Yes, this is in Cleveland on the grass. I want to see if they let him try from 71. I think they are. I'm curious to see if he makes it.
What's the record? 68, 63?
I thought it was 64.
in Denver, 60. I think it was 63 forever, and then
71-yard attempt.
This is a 71-yard
All right,
field goal.
guys. I'm sorry. I know we were talking Giants
I know.
stuff.
I'm watching
but
this. It's crazy.
This is impressive. This guy can make this.
And
kick.
what did I say to you during the last commercial break? If the Cowboys know that all they've got to do is get to the 50-yard line to score points, how ridiculous is that?
And this is the end of the half, so you have nothing to lose here trying to kick this field goal. Scoreboard real quick. There's a timeout in the game. We'll get back to it. Today, the Saints, they blew out the Panthers 47-10. Dolphins 20, Jaguars 17. Texans eked out a win over the Colts in a really close one, 29-27. Patriots 16, Bengals 10 in an upset. Bears defeated the Titans 24-17. Bills 34, Cardinals 28. Steelers beat the Falcons 18-10. And then games in progress. Cowboys lead the Browns 20-3. They're not going to let him try that 71-yard field goal. He did make it from 66 after the delay of game,
That's
though.
crazy.
The Broncos at the half, they lead the Seahawks 13-9. Third quarter, Chargers 9, Raiders 7. Buccaneers 16, Commanders 7. That game in the third quarter. Arby made a 66-yard field goal in the preseason. That's how that conversation started. They're going to try Hail Mary here.
Yeah, instead of going for the field goal.
Anyway, let's get back to the calls here. Right here, you guys doing a great job on the phones. I want to make sure I get you guys in. We got about 8 minutes or so of content left. Want to make sure we get you guys in here on the phone. Let's go to Jay and Hazlitt. He can join us next. Jay, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Just driving home from the game. Great. It's good to know that the Cowboys also have a kicker who can kick from the other end zone. Just making my day better.
You know, these robo-kickers that they're developing today, I was talking to Fiegels about this a couple years ago. I said, they're just putting bionic legs on these guys.
It's crazy. So I got 2 quick points. Jones, I've liked Jones. I think today is where I've started to turn on him. I am more realistic than that other caller. I'm not looking to bench him and pull the plug. But I think he's got 6 games, and if it doesn't come together, I think that might be the plug at that point on his career here, if he doesn't turn it around. And one last point. Are you able to hear me still?
Yeah, we're with you. We got you, Jay.
Oh, sorry. I lost you. One last point. I'm a little concerned just listening to the Tibbs and Dexter Lawrence interviews. The tension, and I know they just came off a really rough loss. The tension with the media, it's not something I want to hear on week one. There's just a couple of being a little pushy with the media that's a bad sign in the locker room from myself at least.
All right, Jay, appreciate the call, my man.
Well, look, I can speak for the media thing. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you. I used to run from the media. I used to run from the media because, you guys know I'm here for a reason. I think I did pretty well with the media when I was a player.
You did.
But I used to run because sometimes it was hard to talk after games.
Well, look.
I used to run, bro.
I always caught you, though.
I know JC enough. JC has some impulse control problems sometimes. So if he's a little mad after a game, you were trying to protect yourself, right? So you didn't say anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, let's
Hey,
go.
can I just give one quickie?
Yeah, sure.
Being in the locker room like I was just now, there were no players that got dressed and ran, and nobody was hiding in the trainer's room either. I just want to make that very clear. That locker room today, everybody was available to face the questions. Just to your point.
I've seen that on good teams and not so good teams.
Right.
It's just kind of
But they were all there.
No offense to the media, and I'm talking about myself as well now. The guys don't really like the media like that. You know what I mean?
All right, let's go back to the phone. Say what's up to Tyler in Shelton, Connecticut. Tyler, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. I know we got only a few minutes left, so I'll make this quick. Just driving back from the game, watching another garbage performance out there, but let's hope they turn around. 2 things. Malik Neighbors, I heard a lot of people talk today how for him to succeed, obviously he's got to put up bigger numbers than he did today. That's not going to happen with no one's getting him the ball. He had that one nice pass. I think it was early in the third quarter or late in the first half. But Malik Neighbors said during the interview that Jones said he had a lot of traffic in his face. I mean, you guys said it before. I didn't think it was nearly as bad as last year with that. And second point, and I'll listen to you guys. I don't know if Daniel Jones of the other football teams in this league, if he'd even be a starter on any other team. So thanks for taking the call, guys. I'll listen in. Have a good one. Go Giants.
Appreciate it. thanks for the call and appreciate you coming out today. Hope you enjoyed all the Giants 100 festivities out here at MetLife Stadium. Look, they're going to try to get the ball to Malik Neighbors as much as they can. Brian Daboll is going to scheme up touches for him. They're going to do their best. And, again, I'm going to go back. I'm going to rewatch the game tomorrow morning. But I think that the Vikings early in this game were trying to keep the ball out of his hands, and we'll see if other teams are able to do that here moving forward. Let's go back to the phones and say hello to Russ in Norwalk, Connecticut. Russ, what's going on?
Thanks for taking my call, guys. I had put the coach. I'm putting the coach on notice after this performance. Forget the quarterback for a minute. I mean, how do you not prepare your team for game week 1? I mean, how do you not have your team ready? If Jones was
well, Russ, here's the thing. It's funny.
Go ahead.
Russ, I'm sorry, real quick, because Dable would talk to the media after the game. I'm not sure if you were in your car in time to hear it, and he basically said, look, they didn't play well enough around, and he put the blame on himself.
Sure
but
did.
the other part of that is the players also said in the locker room after the game that the Vikings didn't do anything that they were not prepared for in their preparation during the week. So there are two sides to that card where you're right. Dable took the hit on this. He said, look, I got to do a better job getting these guys ready. But then the players said after the game that the Vikings didn't do anything to surprise us. So there are two sides to the card there in some ways.
Yeah. The second part of that Hard Knocks story, guys, is John Mara. I mean, how did he sleep Friday night after seeing Saquon score 3 TDs? And then today, the Giants don't have any type of running game. The team is not prepared, guys. I mean, I can't believe that the New York media is letting Brian Daboll off the hook. Week in and week out, you guys let this guy off the hook. And you know what? I'm going to make a prediction. We're going to be 0-4 before we wake up after the Thursday night game against Dallas. We're going to be 0-4. And then what? Then we go to Tommy DeVito. Do we bring another coach in next year? Do we bring our Hall of Famer sitting in the wings waiting to come back to Giant Stadium and Bill Belichick? I mean, this guy is not going to make it as a Giant coach. I can tell from his behavior, his demeanor, his laid-back mentality after the game, his lack of discipline, penalties, just like last year. He's learned nothing. They've learned nothing. So that's how I feel, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
All right, Russ, appreciate the call. Guys, look, he won Coach of the Year 2 years ago. He took an offense that, frankly, was not that talented 2 years ago and turned them into a top half of the league offense in terms of some of the advanced metrics out there, and he figured out how to make things work. Last year was a disaster. No coach could have made what happened last year work with all the injuries they had up front at the quarterback position. He won 3 games with Tommy DeVito last year in a row.
And they fought in some of those games down the stretch.
Correct. And that's not me saying that, Brian Daboll did a great job coaching today. No one did a great job today.
Yeah.
That's not the point I'm making. But, look, the Giants don't want to keep changing coaches. That is not the type of franchise that John Mara wants to have here. He wants to have continuity. He knows that's what wins in the National Football League. Now, you have to have the right guys in place, but they're going to give Brian Daboll every opportunity to make this right because they saw him make it right 2 years ago when they managed to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I feel like every team that has success in the NFL, I think the common, ingredients are a solid head coach and a solid quarterback. And they usually have years together. And they do it for years after they're together, right? And the Giants have to figure out if Daniel Jones is the franchise quarterback. He has to prove it because he still hasn't done it yet. He hasn't done it to this coaching staff. They didn't elect to bring him in for his 5th year. In 2022, Daniel Jones had a very efficient year where he won a first playoff game in 10 years that the Giants won.
And he ran the ball very well.
And he ran the ball very well. You had to pay him. The Giants had to do it. And they did. They locked him up, but they didn't give him the biggest quarterback money. They gave him almost an affordable contract where they can get after a couple of years. The Giants are nowhere near to making that decision quite yet. And the organization is nowhere making that decision quite yet. But we understand what the fans are saying. We get you guys. We truly understand what you're saying. Like that last caller, we got you. We feel what you're saying. It's rough to watch, but
we weren't sitting here enjoying the game either. And by the way, I guarantee ownership wasn't sitting there watching this game and enjoying the game either. They are just as upset. I take that back. They are more upset than you are walking out of that building today.
100%.
They're furious. They're not going to be happy.
Guaranteed.
It's a collective effort. It's a collective effort to put forth the performance that they did, and it's a collective effort to have a bounce-back week. It's a collective effort to have a strong finish to the season. It takes every single person involved in the building.
Guys, there are 17 games left.
Yeah, it's a long way to go.
The Bengals lost to the Patriots today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
All right. The Patriots The Patriots, they have not been projected to be very good this year.
Right,
That is how I will
right.
phrase that
It's-
statement. And the Bengals are Super Bowl contenders.
Yep.
And they lost to the Patriots today, so things happen.
Number one, it's one game. Number two, it's always more important about how you respond to a beating. And you know that, JC.
Yes.
You know that. If they let this linger and they don't do what they need to do and bounce back in Washington next week, now you say, uh-oh, now it's two.
Yes.
Now it's two.
Paul, to your point, if JC we're sitting at FAN next week at 4:25 and we're staring at 28-10 Commanders, then we got a problem.
Yep.
Then we got a problem.
Yep.
Because weird things happen in week one, okay? But you got to bounce back from that, to your point.
That's it. That's it. How will they respond from this? How will they bounce back? And by the way, against a division foe.
Yep.
And we all know the division games are more important than the non-division games. So, okay, strap it up, get it ready next week, and do what you need to do. And I believe Washington's down by 2 scores to Tampa, John. Is that correct?
Last I saw was 13-7. I'm not sure if Tampa scored against Cincinnati. They
Okay.
might have. So, by the
There
way,
it is.
we got to pause 10 seconds for station identification. 16-7, Tampa Bay Bucks on the WFAN Giants Radio Network.
WFAN, WFAN FM, WFAN FM HD1 New York, and Odyssey Sports Station.
All right, guys. I think the caller did a great job of getting us to our look ahead to the game next week against the Commanders. The Commanders are trailing 16-7. I think Brian Robinson, if I'm not mistaken, has their long touchdown. Jaden Daniels right now is 6 of 11 for 51 yards. They're going to have offensive line problems all year. If you can get a lead in that game, you should be able to attack that offensive line with the Giants' pass rush. And then defensively, quite frankly, their secondary does not have a lot of players back there that have a lot of success in the NFL long term. So this should be the opportunity that the Giants are looking for to bounce back, at least from an offensive perspective, to make some plays down the field against a Washington secondary that has struggled the last few years and, frankly, did not make that many improvements in the offseason.
Yeah, and every year is different. You know, history, it doesn't really hold up, but there's something that, you know, and we talk about Daniel Jones specifically. There's something that he has, like, confidence-wise when he plays against the Commanders. He looks different. Like, he plays different. And he plays very well. He has great games against the Commanders.
He loves playing against the Commanders.
He does. You know, and I don't know why my voice is inflecting high like that, but I guess I'm just hopeful.
You're already getting excited about next week's kickoff.
Daniel Jones, when he says the Commanders, he gets happy.
The Giants, that's the one team over the course of these last several years, when they have struggled, they have still been able to take care of business against.
No? How many times they beat them last year?
That's just the way it is.
Twice.
That's just the
Two
way it is.
wins.
That's a team they've been able to take, which goes back to our point, John, a minute ago. Yeah. Got to bounce back next week against the team that you have usually taken care of business against. Don't screw that up next week.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about it before the season started. A very tough stretch of games comes after that second game against the Commanders. I'll give the gauntlet for the fans out there in case they haven't looked at the schedule.
Although Cleveland's having a heck of a bad time today against Dallas, right? Well, they scored 3 points?
Yeah, I mean, Dallas, look, that's true. So you get at Cleveland, that's week 3. This is after the Commanders in week 2, obviously. All these teams in the next 6 games won at least 9 games last year. They were at least 500 or better.
Right.
At Cleveland, home versus the Cowboys, at the Seahawks, always a tough place to play. Home versus the Bengals, that's a Sunday nighter. Dallas is a Thursday nighter, by the way. Eagles, 1 o'clock on a Sunday, and then at Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football. So that is a very, very difficult stretch of games. You better not be 0-2 heading into that stretch of 6. Otherwise, you're in for a long way clawing your way back into playoff contention.
Well,
absolutely.
You know, that's why having another game before that gauntlet is so important. You actually have that little tiny bit of breathing room to get things fixed. Could you imagine if you were starting that gauntlet this week, coming up on Sunday, and did not have one game before that to try to get it right?
So just talking about the Commanders, so the Giants have had success against them. They just had a great stat pop up on Fox about the Commanders. What's the last Commander quarterback to start 4 consecutive opening days?
4 consecutive opening days.
You have no chance at this. You might get it.
Oh, wow.
Rippon?
Doug Williams.
Rippon?
Mark Rippon. It's the quarterback right after Doug Williams.
Okay.
Honestly, that was a good guess with Doug Williams. But, yes, it is Mark Rippon, 89 to 93.
Yeah.
So they hope they have their guy in Jaden Daniels, obviously, and we'll see what the Giants can do next week when they take on the Commanders. Gentlemen, this was fun. Appreciate you coming up. Callers, good job.
Was
Thank
that a
you to Bob
question
and
you
Carl.
asked? This is fun?
No, I always like talking.
We had a
football with
good
you guys.
time. Of course we did.
The game wasn't necessarily a ton of fun, but the Giants 100 stuff was fun. It was great seeing all the legends here at halftime.
That was
the ceremony
cool.
was
Yeah, it
great.
was.
Paul,
That
talk
was
about it real
cool.
quick because you spent a lot of time with the guys over the
Yeah, you
weekend.
did.
Tell me what it was like.
It was sensational to relive the tradition and the history and the camaraderie, not just of the guys who went through some of the lean years who have such a great bond because they had to fight through those struggles, but obviously the guys who've been part of the championships. You heard my interview with Parcells during the pregame. In the middle of the interview, Pepper Johnson comes over, and him and Bill Sells start talking in the middle of the interview. He's like, "Hey, Pepper, how you doing? Pepper, good to see you, Bill." It was that camaraderie that made it so fun.
Hoffman couldn't keep Pepper away from him. He didn't step in between the two guys and say, "Pepper, you're going to have to wait."
You seen the size of Pepper Johnson lately?
I would have actually liked to see what would have happened to Hoffman if he tried to do that. I think it would be actually kind of entertaining.
He'd have been a pancake.
Excellent job, guys. Giants Extra Point was brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Giants. Citizens is made ready for Giant fans. Hackensack Meridian Health, keep getting better. Peerless Boilers, the world's best-built boilers. And by Moody's, decode risk, unlock opportunity. Learn more at moodys.com. Stay tuned to our coverage all week long of the Giants. Big Blue Kickoff Live is our weekly show at 12:30 every afternoon on Giants.com and the Giants mobile app. Tomorrow it's Bob Pop and Howard Cross talking Giants football, and we have a lot of great content going up on our Giants Podcast Network podcast feed. Just search for Giants Podcast Network or Giants Huddle Podcast. We'll have content coming your way all week long. For Paul Dottino, for Jonathan Casillas, I am John Schmeelk. For our entire crew, Bob Papa, Carl Banks, and Howard Cross, we'll see you next week. Pre-game Sunday at 11 a.m. on FAN next Sunday. We'll talk to you then.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. Everybody needs some variety in life. That's what I love about Chumba Casino. They know how to keep things fresh and exciting. All their games are free to play, like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire. You can claim free daily login bonuses, too. And they release new games every week. So spice things up with ChumbaCasino.com now for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
The all-electric Chevy Equinox EV combines everything you need when you're ready to go EV. Starting at $34,995, the 2025 Equinox EV-LT gives you an impressive balance of all-electric range, safety features for peace of mind, and effortless technology, including the 17.7-inch diagonal display screen, all at a price you'll love. The Chevy Equinox EV is the fun-to-drive, all-electric SUV that gives you what you need to do exactly what you want. The manufacturer's suggested retail price excludes tax, title, license, dealer fees, and optional equipment. Dealer sets final price. To learn more, visit Chevy.com/Equinox EV.